So TLDR, yeah, come to the console. Like and subscribe. Alright. So yes, the game is coming to consoles eventually in time. The devs have said as much. The moment the plan is to get the PC release out of beta, it's in a tip-top condition before considering making it to consoles. Now they've by no means given 100% confirmation it will come to consoles. They've basically said yes, it's in our field of vision. We'll get to that when we get to it. But let's get a little bit more into why it needs to come to console. I'm an industry man, I'm a numbers man, I like looking at things from this angle. So let's just talk about install base for a few moments here. When devs are considering putting a game onto various platforms, they call that the install base. It's not how many players are playing this type of game, it's all about how many players own the platforms in question, how many potential sales they can get by going onto that platform. So let's take a few moments to have a look at the install bases across consoles and PC. So on PC, Steam had approximately 120 million players in 2020. Now, we're not going to look at the Epic Games launcher here, because to be perfectly honest, I don't think there's that many people who use Epic Games exclusively. They probably have it in addition to Steam, GOG, etc. So using the Steam as our main metric, we can consider the PC installation base to be 120 million, with potential to grow. So let's look at console sales here. These are ballpark figures because console manufacturers are very hush-hush when it comes to units, unless they've got something to brag about. And obviously with the pandemic, etc., the numbers might not be as accurate this year. So from what we got online at the moment here, PS4 has sold about 115 million units approximately. Switch, 88 million units approximately. Xbox One, 50 million units. Now to keep things simple, I'm not going to get into the next gen things, but not just that, many people who bought PS5s are probably leaving behind their PS4s, so numbers are still in line with one another if you want to look at it that way. So in total, the installation base, or the install base I should say, for consoles is 253 million. That's nearly double. But if we want to make this a bit more of a conservative number, let's factor in the fact that a lot of people probably have two of these consoles probably. Like for example, I've got a PS4 and I've got a Switch. As of this year, I've also got an Xbox Series S as well. Typically speaking though, I think having 3 consoles in the house is probably a bit rarer. So if we want to be conservative, let's just assume that every gamer has 2 consoles in their house. We can effectively half that console install base to 126 million users. So as you can see, if you wanted to compare these two numbers, console and PC are on rather similar footing. Basically what we're saying here is if it goes to console, there's the potential to double the player base. That's all well and good. However, VHS is a free-to-play game, so it really doesn't matter how many people are playing. Don't get me wrong, it does in terms of the game's overall lifespan, but the bread and butter of the game is the monetization aspect. That's what's going to keep the game going the longest from a business standpoint. So I'm going to make a kind of unpopular comparison here. Let's look at another game that's available across all platforms, utilizes a similar monetization style, and appeals to the same general audience. So yeah, right, let's be real here. The gameplay is what's appealing to us in the early days, the beta testers and what have you, as we've played other 4v1 asymmetrical horror games, such as the one that shall be named Deceased by Daybreak. But what's going to draw people in after the early days is probably going to be the visuals, and let's be honest, the VHS art style will kind of appeal to that Fortnite crowd. Not just that, but as I said, it's got a similar monetization style. So I think it is relatively fair to compare these two. So how are we going to compare this? Well, you may have heard about the Epic Games versus Apple lawsuit that happened not so long ago here. We got a lot of information from that lawsuit. So Forbes have reported that from documents gathered from that the in-game revenue per platform for Fortnite breaks down like this. PlayStation 4 accounted for 46.8%, Xbox One 27.5%, Android, Switch and PC combined 18.7%. Now it'd be good if we could cross-compare with something like Deceased by Daylight, but I don't think I could find those numbers there. But what's the point we're hammering home here? Well, potentially, if this spending pattern holds up across other games and most games, The majority of the money to be earned is on consoles, with PC being very much a proving ground for the gameplay before launching on console. Is there a reason for the spending difference? Well, I think it really does come down to younger players. Younger players, I think, are more likely to burn through cosmetics, tiring of ones they bought a day ago and looking to move on to another one a few days later. Similarly, I think younger people are more likely to have a console, given that they're more likely to be bought by parents, birthday, Christmas and things like that. As a parent, which would you rather buy your child? A console that costs a couple of hundred, gaming PC that costs upwards of 1,000, you know? So from a business standpoint, it will launch on consoles, I have no doubt in my mind. But I'm happy that it's going to wait a while first. There's that age-old saying that there's no second chance to make a first impression. I think console gamers are less likely than PC gamers to give games a second chance. Like, for example, Fallout 76, when that launched in a horrendous state, I very much doubt that a lot of console gamers went back to it after that, unless you're on Xbox, maybe where it was technically free for you. And you've got the odd story here and there of like No Man's Sky, which makes a complete 180 recovery, and then you've got games like Anthem, which never recovered. Even if it didn't launch in nearly as horrendous state as some of those examples there, I think console gamers, if it's not a gripping experience the first time they play, I think they're more likely to uninstall and not come back later to check out what it was like. I've got absolutely no facts or figures to back this up, it's just how I feel about console gamers, my kind of people, because I am primarily a console player myself. And that's kind of all I've got for you today here, folks. Again, the TLDR is, yes, it will come with console, but they're going to take their time. When it's ready, it will come to console, and I think you'll know when they're gearing up for that, when the in-game store is expanded significantly. Anyway, if you agree, if you disagree, pop your comments down below there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. In the early days of this channel, help so much. And don't forget to go check out our Twitch channel now, because we are streaming the game live occasionally now. Right folks, be excellent to each other. Later. Bye bye.